The champ is right here. But I don't need to talk anymore because
once again, you haven't been here since you were the champ.
It doesn't matter because that's why there was a stipulation. The stipulation is the producer is now an advocate for Doc Lesnar. I don't need to come to these things because this man is going to be my mouthpiece. So now just say something stupid so we can get this thing going.
I get myself into all kinds of shit. I'm always talking mad shit, saying, I'm going to win, and then this fuck decides to not even be on the show, and all of his picks are fine. Welcome, guys, to the Armchair Bookers podcast. We talk about wrestling. We are a five-piece tonight. We got the ref, we got JK, we got Fridge, we got Stoney, and yeah, we got Doc over there. How's everyone doing after Elimination Chamber? I'm doing fucking amazing.
I'm floating on a fucking crowd over here, guys.
I have so many things to say. One, to all our listeners, pardon the echo. I just moved into a new place, and Studio Booker is in the process of being built. We will have a six-piece tonight when we get to our topic tonight. There will be my lovely wife, Mav, will be joining us. And the second thing, or third thing, I lost count because I'm fucking heated because Elimination Chamber was a dumpster fire.
Shit.
All right, so before we start lighting the dumpster on fire, thank you guys for everybody who's been listening to us over the last couple months. We got some really cool things to talk about. Real quick, I want to give you guys a heads up. If you're listening for the first time or you're listening for the 15th time because you love us, hit us over on Podbean, the podcast app, and all the places that you can listen to us. We're over on Facebook. We're over on Twitter. We're over on Instagram. We do a lot on Instagram. Twitter we kind of avoid just for reasons. We got some Reddit stuff going on. And also, just giving you guys a quick heads up, if you guys haven't been following us on Instagram, we are going to be one of the few podcasts who are going to be at the Bullet Club block party on April 7th at Jimmy's Seafood. How the fuck did that happen?
Dude, what the fuck is going on?
Wait a minute, what day is this?
Said it.
What day
April
is this?
7th, the same fucking day as WrestleMania, motherfuckers.
That's what I'm going to say. This is an important day, and isn't this happening across the street?
Across the street.
From MetLife? What the fuck are we doing there? How did we get legit?
We'll be able to look at the event we couldn't afford tickets to go see.
Yep. Big facts.
So we're going to be
hanging out with guys that I think are kind of cooler.
I told you all. Episode 1, the most over fucking podcast in professional wrestling. And you know who took notice? The bad good guy. Tamatanga.
That's my guy.
Oh, dude, I can't wait for you to
blasphemy.
get the guns done in front of your advocate.
hair.
Oh, my God.
If Doc Lesnar shows up to the Bullet Club block party, he can tell Tamatanga himself.
So I'm going to hit you.
I'll let you go for
Curry
it.
Lesnar will be at the block party. Don't you worry about that.
I'm going to hit
I'd
you
hide
all
my
with one
face,
more
too.
thing, too. We also will be attending the Blackcraft special, No Apologies, on April 5th. We're going to be covering the event, talking to the lads and lasses over there. Got Soraya Knight over there. We got John Morrison over there, Johnny Blackcraft as he is there, the champion. Got a lot of crazy things coming your way this year. So on April 7th, again, we're going to be hanging with Bullet Club. And then we're going to be giving you our thoughts on WrestleMania. Fuck yeah.
Fuck
That's gonna be a busy
WrestleMania
weekend, yo.
This is a block party weekend. This is a Booker's
Block
weekend.
party, baby!
I'm going to watch Doc get shellfish poisoning.
You could. You very well could. You very well could. A lot of alcohol, a lot of food, you know. If you haven't looked at these tickets, there's a lot of perks to this event besides hanging out with these freaks.
Yeah, go get those tickets, guys. If you want to hang out with us, you want to hang out with the Bullet Club and all the other podcasters that are going to be there, definitely check it out and go get those tickets.
Dude,
It's gonna be
yeah,
it's gonna be bonkers.
The first 10 people that come to our table will get a hug from the big bad curry daddy, the Doc himself.
Wait. Why does he get the hug people? There's
Because
no
you're
way.
fucking weird.
Yeah, but I don't come off as weird.
And your beard is
comes off
weird.
as kind of weird. My beard is not weird. Talk about it.
Your beard is weird.
all
I
right,
love
so,
your beard.
so
I'm gonna
listen.
compliment your
Me
beard.
too.
I love your beard.
Listen, 4 of us here have beards. 1 doesn't. Figure it out. Let's talk about Elimination Chamber because that
And
shit
one
was
of them
fucking
is
weird.
And one of them is the champ, so something
He
is
literally
not
just
quite
gave-
like
he
the
gave it
others.
away. He literally gave it away. He said, I'm really glad we're back to the old tricks where we just get off the rails like 3 minutes in. Really glad we're back.
Feels like home.
So we're going to talk about Elimination Chamber. I know we got all a bunch of thoughts about it. I know I got some shit to say. What do y'all think of Elimination Chamber?
It was dog shit. That's what I think.
Okay, let's be fair. It wasn't dog shit. It was flaming dog shit.
All right. I was being too lenient.
Listen, guys, I thought it was good.
I think I'm going to be part of the minority. Yeah.
I thought it was good.
It was the Elimination Chamber. What do you expect out of it? There's only so much that you can do inside there when you're locked in.
You know what they could have done? They could have had the women's tag titles main event the fucking show, which is what they should have done.
No,
and then they could have highlighted.
Why not?
This is the
Why
first
not?
time
highlighted
For an
all the
inaugural
tears
title, you should have.
backstage.
No, because
the
this is the first
happiness of
time.
the win.
This is the first time. Let's look back and see when the last time the WWE Championship was the main event. It should always be the WWE Championship. No offense to the women at WrestleMania, let it be the women. It'll be a main event with the WWE Championship. I don't mind that, but stop it. No. It should be WWE
To be fair,
Championship.
the only reason why the WWE Championship went on last is because the Universal title didn't have a match that night.
I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that like it is always that way. Of course it's
but
not.
my
That's why
point
I'm
is, you're
angry.
having an inaugural title match. Why are you not having it as the main event? And this is actually going to tie into our match of the week
because they
did
rushed
the
it.
same thing. They did the same thing for the Universal title.
Oh, well,
With
That
this
pay-per-view,
one,
it did not main event.
with this one, I feel like they rushed it. I think they wanted something bigger than the Elimination Chamber to crown the tag teams. I think they panicked with some of the things that were being announced, and they moved it forward because it felt that way.
To be fair, though, I'm very glad that match did not go on last because for two reasons. One, it was Kofi's night, and we'll get to that in a second. And the second point is that match is a clunker because those girls do not have enough experience with planning those kind of spots. And that's not a knock to them. They are athletic.
No,
they
you're
can
right.
do it. They just need more practice. They always get shoved into these matches without the experience to do it, and it comes off looking like crap. It looked like crap. And also, if you want to talk about a storytelling perspective, Sasha Banks hit the backstabber and then into a Bailey to belly, and then I believe it was either Sonya. I think it was Sonya or Mandy Rose. I don't remember. It was one of those two because they were the last two, of course. That kicked out. That's the tide shifting. That's when you know the other team's going to win, when they kick out of the other team's double finisher, and they still lost. And you know what? Half the crowd fucking booed when they lost because they didn't want to see it. They didn't want to see the Hug and Boss connection win because that title should have started off with new blood.
I totally agree. That's why I picked
100%.
Sonya and Mandy.
I didn't even pick Sonya and Mandy for our predictions. I picked Nia and Tamina because I thought what they would want to do is they would want to give it to Boss and Hug at Mania. I thought they would want to make that part of the, let's say, the big spectacle where they finally did it. They finally achieved the dream, that kind of thing. And I thought the overcoming hurdle would be one of the toughest tag teams around. Did I think that
I thought
Nia
the
and
same
Tamina
thing.
would have been the team that I would have wanted to win? No, I would have preferred like the outcome came. That's totally fine. But, you know, I thought that they were going to have Sasha and Bailey jump over yet another hurdle. But to be fair, I got to say, had they done that, I guarantee a lot of people, including some of us, may have been like, well, why didn't you have them win here? I think it's only because WrestleMania is so close that we're thinking of it like this.
It's also the most forced "you deserve it" chant I've ever heard at an event, ever.
It's more for like the belts. I think it was more for the belts than them at this point. They're
It was the women deserve it, not necessarily Sasha and Bailey deserve it. The women deserve the tag team, and that's what that chant was about.
just said that.
I will agree with both of you guys. I will agree with Ref and begrudgingly Doc. But I just dude, when they won, I was so sour about it. I was just so sour about it. But moving on to the match was a clunker. Please go back and watch it. And everyone listening, go back and watch it now that the hype is
I
faded.
liked it. I don't
that
think
match
it was
was a
perfect.
clunker.
I did
But
like it though.
I
think it
can't like a clunker. I can't.
I've said many podcasts ago, I believe after like the first Elimination Chamber, where it was clunky and you could tell it was botchy and the girls looked almost nervous or scared. Not a knock to them. It is a nervous and scary situation. Some of the things that they have to pull off in those kind of matches. I said it way back then that they need to be doing this kind of stuff. They can't do an Elimination Chamber at a house show. But that's where a lot of these gentlemen have gotten kind of feet under them in these matches. And some of them have participated in a ton of them on the main roster and things like that. They just need more practice with it, I agree. But I think all things considered, this was one of the more well-done ones in comparison to some of the others. Like, the clunky spots weren't botches. They just looked uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And every single one of the other ones, there were botches. So
I don't know. I feel differently about it, mainly because if you go back and you look at the men's chamber match,
well, that's not, again, I can't.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah,
we'll get to that. But let's move on to another waste of everybody's time. Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush for the Intercontinental Championship.
How is that a waste of time?
A paint-by-numbers match that was under 10 minutes to make everyone happy by giving Finn some gold.
I thought it was a solid match. Here's the thing. Like you said, it was more of like a Raw match, a match you could have had on, Raw or SmackDown. Absolutely. But you know what? Lio Rush put in work in that match. Balor put in work in that match. And Lashley put in work on that match. Like, I think as a match in and of itself, outside of Monday night, what happened, I think it was really, really cool. And I'm happy for Balor. Balor absolutely deserves it.
Balor deserves to be Universal Champion, but we'll get to that.
He does deserve to be Universal Champion, but you know what? If you're going to put him against Lashley, they had a really good showing. And it's kind of like you knew what was going to happen. That's the only thing. I felt like you knew that Balor couldn't go in and lose, because it made no sense for any trajectory he had going forward. So he had to go in and he had to win the Intercontinental Championship. But I hope now he becomes the face of the Intercontinental Championship for at least a while.
I like it because it doesn't immediately push him into the Universal title picture once Seth wins it at WrestleMania. I think it gives Finn a chance with some gold and to make that belt feel relevant like it has been short of Lashley's run. I think he can bring it back, the same kind of energy that Seth had, the same kind of energy that The Miz had. We won't miss a step there. And this will really show what he can do with the belt and how he can elevate the crowd with him holding some gold. That kind of side of his character. Let's see how he shines that up. And it adds a layer to him. So I think it's a little bit of a thermometer test, but I think he's going to knock it out of the park. It's Finn Balor. He's amazing.
If they make it a workhorse title again, it'll make a lot of sense.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
if they don't, it's a complete and total. It's going to bury Finn more than help him. Despite that's a lofty belt in a lot of people's eyes.
Well, with
and
all
a lot of people fall short.
Well, with all the newer guys that are being put onto the roster, they're a lot more smaller. They're a lot more speedier. This is a title that, once again, is meant for them. They may not be right now that heavyweight contender, but they're definitely intercontinental. They're willing to be mentioned, and they're willing to showcase the talent. I think Balor holding this is phenomenal because they always wanted to make him a number 2 man, with Roman Reigns being number 1. Well, This is their chance to start building him as that number 2 man and having him in the wings for something bigger.
I agree with everything you're saying. And both to counter the fact of you're talking about small people, I'm going to talk about a big person, and talking about a number 2 to Roman Reigns is number 1. You know what match was a dumpster fire on this fucking pay-per-view? Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman. That was look, the other match, at least it was good. At least there was some work being put into it. I can appreciate everything that Lashley, Lio Rush, and Balor did, and it was entertaining. What the fuck is he doing fighting Corbin again? And then why did Lashley come out? And how long does it take to...
And McIntyre.
They made a fucking house of cards that took about 10 minutes to put up, and then they did the shield bomb. Okay, fine, cool, I get it. But, I don't know, man.
When did Bobby Lashley become, I have kids? And we'll do a reunion of the 3-man band inside there. It was ridiculous.
We were messing with you later.
It was bullshit.
like I was telling you guys off pod, it's like they're trying to tell a story, but they forgot to tell the beginning. It's we kind of understood when Corbin was like interim general manager and he needed some muscle. Yeah, great. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley makes a crap ton of sense. And then that angle immediately died. But now it's back. And they're looking like some sort of weird evil Shield that no one wants to root for except for McIntyre because he's fucking dope. So I just don't know where this is going. I just don't.
I don't think
and they
know
just
where it's
don't
going
explain
either.
it.
Because I don't think they know where it's going. They have no guided direction. This is one of those trios that they're going to randomly pull apart and put back together again as many times as they feel necessary because it's a filler.
How fucking far have we fallen from Braun Strowman fighting Roman Reigns and tipping over ambulances and knocking over stages to this shit?
My worry with this is, I'll be the optimist. I don't mind the three of them together. If
Me
they
neither,
explain why.
yeah.
If they explain why
mind
and
it.
they fleshed that out a little bit. The match itself was there was no purpose to it other than to show them together again. But that's a Monday Night Raw type of scenario.
I don't mind that, but keep it consistent. Like, if you're going to try and build them up as a trio and as this formidable force that's going to take out the entire roster and the big guys like Braun Strowman, then keep them together all the time. Don't put them together randomly at pay-per-views because Baron Corbin needs some help.
Because it
Also
fits in the match.
Shirt off.
Yeah.
Like
The other-
take Corbin's shirt off. Get him off the fucking general manager attire. Like I'm losing my shit.
Yeah.
Put him back in the battle gear. It was kind of cool. He was finally
Honestly,
making it work.
he needs a rebrand. Like, he needs a refresh.
Hell yeah.
His
my
character
other-
is so burnt out right now from all the GM nonsense.
I don't feel like you could beat me up if you're wearing fucking chinos. Okay. Put on some fucking tights. Lace up your boots. Start deep sixing people. Let's get going.
Let him come
All
out
I'm
like
saying is that
Cesaro
I've never gotten into a fight with a TGI Fridays manager or server, but if I ever did, I would hope it's against him.
Wow, guys. I was trying to go an optimistic route. I can stay with it, I guess, but maybe not. I don't want to get yelled at.
Well, let's talk optimism for a second. Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa was a really good match. I don't know if you guys got the chance to see it on the pre-show, but again, two fucking workhorses. Oh my God. Buddy Murphy is a... Oh,
when are they
shit.
going to wake up and realize that Buddy Murphy is a main card match? This pre-show shit is just absurd. They have the best wrestlers right now, consistently the best wrestlers, and some of the best matches in what we would consider the main roster. Not counting NXT, but counting 205 Live as part of the main roster, since they do, flow up there occasionally. There's no legitimate light being shined on them at all. They have Leo Rush up there doing great things. Drake Maverick has disappeared, but besides the pissing in the... Oh, no, Drake Maverick should disappear. Never mind. Leo Rush is doing pretty cool. Mustafa Ali is doing great. We're going to see Gargano and Ciampa, who are 205 Live competitors. 205 Live Cruiserweight Championship competitors. We're going to see what they can do on the main roster, and already they beat 8 tag team champs and former tag team champs. That's something I'll get into later because I have some things to say about that. Long story short, this guy deserves to be shown in a much better light than what they're doing. And if he gets that chance, he can bring more eyes to 205 Live, which then we'll see a lot of great talent.
Let's see how far the Mark Henry rub goes. Because Mark Henry didn't need to say what he said when he came out about those cruiserweights. So let's see how far that rub goes. I agree with everything you're saying completely, Ref. You're making a lot of sense, except for Ciampa and Gargano being in 205 Live. I don't want to see it at all.
No. I that was a slip of the tongue. I meant that they participated in the Cruiserweight Classic.
Gotcha.
Which
Thank
formed,
you for
which was their pool for 205 Live.
Yes. It's just like we got great wrestlers that they don't know what to do with. And this is a common theme. This is the theme. This is the theme of wrestling in 2018 and 2019 was, wow, look at WWE's roster. Look at all that talent wasting away. And then look at bastard Pac fucking everything up.
Oh, it's so true. But listen to this. You know who had a really good match? Miz and Shane McMahon and the Usos. They always deliver. They always have a great show. In terms of storytelling, I thought it was kind of like, why did Shane have to go and do the elbow, but I guess that was also like Miz being like, hey, dude, go do it. This is your thing. Knock him out, and then I'll take out the other guy. But again, they had a great match. Like, this to me was one of the shining matches on the show. And it was one that I think was really underrated going into it. But why should it be with these four guys?
Yeah. I just don't understand the back and forth of the titles. You know, what does that do to Sheamus and Cesaro? You know, what does that do for other tag teams? And now that Gargano and Ciampa, going back to them real quick, and I'm going to have to just say, like, they beat the Revival. The Revival's first title defense was a loss. Or the second. I'm sorry, their non-title. I'm sorry, it was a non-title match, of course, so they didn't lose it. But their first match, after winning the belts, they lose. Why not put a different tag team there? So then Ciampa and Gargano show up again. They beat Sheamus and Cesaro. So now if we're putting Sheamus and Cesaro's whole storyline together right now, they lost to a part-timer / owner / manager and Miz, to then losing to Ciampa and Gargano, and the Miz and McMahon lost to the Usos. So it's just very convoluted and confusing to me for no reason. If they wanted to put the belts on the Usos and have Shane and Miz with it as well, I just feel like they could have gotten there in a much easier way than what appears to be just thrown together again. What I assume is going to happen is they're going to get into another match. They're going to be in another scenario where Shane can hit a big move. Same thing is going to kind of happen, and Miz is going to start to turn and kind of blame it on Shane, or vice versa, or say that he did it all on purpose. He was telling him to do all those things to see if he actually cared about the team. Or Miz is great at turning that stuff kind of back around on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited for that part, but I'm not excited to see, you know, them getting this kind of rub when the Revival was and probably is still close to quitting because they're not being treated fairly. You know,
Yeah.
I just think it's dangerous. And they are entertaining, though. I'm not taking away from the tag team, but they could be in a match somewhere else away from the championships and still have the same impact. That's all I really mean. But
How did we feel about Ronda Rousey just ragdolling fucking Ruby Riott? That hurt my heart a little bit because I love Ruby
What was
Riott.
the point?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Such a
appreciate
random
everything that
fucking
Ruby
match.
Riott's been doing, but like Ruby Riott, they've done enough to at least build her up to make it believable that she can belong in that situation. And I'm not taking anything away from what she's been doing and what she's capable of, because she's a very good competitor. I don't think the way that they approached the match was the right thing to do, rushing through it as quickly as they did and having Ronda just ragdoll her around like you said. It doesn't do anything for Ruby. It doesn't give her any sort of credibility, because now she's just like everybody else, getting just pummeled by Ronda Rousey, who, like Fridge has been saying for all this time now, is going to leave the division in rubble.
It's disgusting. So here's the thing. I was super disappointed that it was a squash match. Because basically it was Ruby Riott was a sacrificial lamb to move the story forward between Becky and Charlotte, which we're going to save that for another episode because I'm not wasting my energy on that. I was upset at it. I was like, okay. But then what made me fucking disgusted was they heard all the backlash about burying Ruby, and then they gave her a real match the next night. That's bullshit. That's you going
really good on Monday night as well. And that was what the big issue there for me was the squash at the Chamber, but phenomenal showing on Monday Night Raw.
why couldn't they have reversed that?
Right.
What was the point? What's the point of that? And that shows again, they don't take their pay-per-view seriously at this point with the network being around. We get more and more consistent Raw matches and better matches on Raw.
You know, and I'm going to say I'm glad that it did happen on Sunday, just because Lafayette, the crowd over there, was just absolutely fucking horrible.
Yeah.
For a wrestling show, because they had some phenomenal things going on. They had
Raw? Are you talking about Raw?
Yeah. Yeah,
Raw was good.
they had NXT. Yeah, Raw was phenomenal, but that fucking crowd made it a half-ass show.
Yeah.
Like, I felt so bad for these guys coming up from NXT and the show that continued on, because Monday Night Raw was so much stronger than the Elimination Chamber. But this crowd was on their ass the entire
in my opinion, Monday Night was one of the strongest post-pay-per-view Raws that they've had in a while.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They've been having a couple really good ones, but this one was great, I thought.
Well, I'm talking specific post-pay-per-view.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
If I had to make an assumption of why the crowd was flat, I really think it stems from like everyone getting their heart broken with Kofi losing.
All right.
I just think that sucked the wind out of everybody's sails.
Yes.
Like, that just sucked it.
No, that didn't have anything to do with it. Maybe
the
on
crowd was chanting
SmackDown,
for
but not
Kofi
on Raw.
all night. Absolutely on Raw.
Dude, we got, and like, we're not gonna. Is the main event next, or was there
the
a
main
match in between
event?
this?
The main event is next. Real quick before we move on, I just want to say I'm looking up the times for the different matches. Ronda Rousey, Ruby Riott was 1:40. Hit what you gotta say. Hit what you gotta say.
Dude, like that main event match, that chamber match was electric. The spots were perfect. The heat was on. The comebacks were strong. It was beautiful storytelling. But the fact that they didn't make that fucking audible to put it on Kofi was the biggest mistake. And I think that sucked the wind out of their sails for not forever, but the 48 hours for Raw and SmackDown. Dude, like you two old timers over there can shake your fucking heads. That's exactly what happened. Like
100%.
they blue balled the entire WWE universe so hard that it flatlined the next 2 days.
Yep.
I'll agree. And here, I'll go a step further, right? And I've said this off pod. I said this over on our Facebook, our Twitter, wherever it is. So, number one, you should have called an audible. Absolutely. Number two, I've never seen the air get sucked out of a crowd so hard as I did that night. Number three, you did not, by beating Kingston, put heat on Bryan. What you did was you took heat away from Kingston and put it back on management and said, you guys didn't call the audible. So now when you're creating a match for fucking Mania or for fucking Fastlane, now you've broken the wall. You've basically gone out and said, as management, listen, motherfuckers, we hear you. We fucked up here. So here's a little build for you guys. I guarantee you the impact in the chamber would have been way more, even if you held it for a day, for a week, whatever. Because you know what happened? At the end of that fucking match, the boys came out and were like, dude, take a bow. Take a bow. You deserve this. What the fuck do you deserve? You didn't walk out with the title. You didn't walk out winning. You walked out being the last fucking person.
It almost felt like it was like a farewell for him in a sense, which I know obviously it wasn't because he was on SmackDown.
It's not. And you know what it felt like? You know what it fucking felt like? Every other fucking time Kofi Kingston gets close. That's what it felt like. They did the same song and dance. They do it about every 2 to 3 years. Let's push Kofi a little bit, and then let's wind it on back because we can't really do it. We won't pull the trigger on it.
But this wasn't even them pushing him.
No, it was organic. It was different. It was different this time. It meant I am the most jaded one on this fucking show. And if you were in the group chat during that match, I was a fucking kid again because I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that they were going to strap Kofi and the 11-year odyssey was going to be over. And then they robbed it, and they robbed it from everybody. Yes. Sometimes you just got to do what makes sense. And that was the moment. That was the moment where they bullshitted and they were like, hey, you're the authority. Well, guess what the authority wanted? Kofi winning. And guess what didn't happen? Kofi didn't win. So I'm not the authority. I'm just the schmuck that gives you $9.99 a month.
We need to get a mic stand for him because he's all over the damn place and he's all in the camera and like I see like his eyes and he pans back. He's freaking me out. Look, I don't mind him losing there. What I mind is that's like Fastlane is not it. What I mind is he's not going to get the payoff yet at all. And normally we should be saying yet. This is
No, you know why? Because they're planning for fucking Bryan versus KO at Mania.
Yeah. Whether that's right or wrong, I mean, I'm not saying. What I'm talking about is that, like, we're getting that extra match, but this was never in the cards, and it was never going to happen. What makes it what makes us angrier is that the audible isn't long-term audible. It's not like they're saying, all right, Fastlane, let's see them go, and then we have something planned for WrestleMania. This is the momentum. This is the Daniel Bryan organic momentum of years ago happening again at the time, maybe a little bit too late. If this would have been like, and it's not his fault. It's nobody's fault really, because Kofi fell into this match because of some bad luck to Ali. Ali was supposed to play the exact role that Kofi played.
Right.
So, it's almost like it's a little bit unfair on both sides. Kofi should be getting this push, and he always should be. He should be a main eventer. He should be getting a chance to actually win the belt. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But what the audible should be, not that night. The audible should be WrestleMania. Put him there.
I fully put the blame on management for
totally. It has to be
everything that's had to be done with this. Because if this doesn't show how organically over some of your top competitors can be that you don't think can be over, you need to start second guessing yourself. Because I don't understand how they can look at the momentum that this man has built in a 7-day span and not realize what you have there.
It could have happened. Hopefully it happened to the right person and with the right opponent. Daniel Bryan, from everything I hear, everything I read from outside sources, he doesn't speak up on this. People from all over the place talk about how he is very quick to put people over, both verbally and in the ring, and he goes to bat for people. Maybe this is one of those situations where maybe, the rumored plan is KO. I would love that, not in replace of Kingston. I would love it if all this Kingston stuff wasn't going on. But maybe there's an audible coming. Maybe. I'm going to be optimistic that they are going to listen and hear this possibility that something big is on the horizon.
We shall
see.
I don't think that the heat is going to be as big as it was there, though. Because now the problem is you had lightning by chance. And that was your time to strike gold. Yeah. And here, now if you do have him in the main event, you're expecting things. Now you want the build to be there. The Legend of John Henry's hammer is bigger and forced. Exactly. Yeah.
But they can help. Yes, you're right. In terms of how we know the storylines and how much more we know in terms of how they create these things, and we know a little bit more about the rumors and how they change things up. But from a storytelling point, they can make it happen where you keep that energy behind Kingston. Not everybody in those stands, sees it the way that we do. A lot of those people, if they'll see this chance at Fastlane, it'll be a barn burner, and they'll get that hope up again. Maybe if they have an ending where Rowan gets involved, or it's clear that he gets cheated out of it. Some way to keep the crowd angry at Bryan and sympathetic towards Kingston. And there we go. You have your storyline for WrestleMania written. People will still be energetic. This will start to feel like, okay, it's not, maybe it's being forced, but it's a platform that's worth pushing somebody towards. This is Daniel Bryan version 2. We could get it, and it could stay hot. They didn't make that jump to Daniel Bryan, but then when they did, and we all were like, it's forced, but they did, and we all remember that forever.
Sure.
I mean, I had goosebumps and tears in my eyes. So it can still work if they do it right.
Before we move on, and anyone else can get their piece in. I was and still am heated about it. I don't think you could have. We'll give Fastlane a shot, and we'll see what Mania holds in store. But I don't think you could have accidentally told a better story.
You're right.
Than what happened at Elimination Chamber.
You're absolutely right.
Because that moment where like, and I wanted to like screenshot this and meme this so hard. That moment where Kofi decides, instead of like continue fighting in the ring, launches up the cage and just stares at Daniel Bryan, and you have that perfect camera shot of him just over Daniel. It's that moment where it's just like, I'm coming for you and everything you have, and there's nothing you can stop me. It was
Yeah.
just it was too perfect. It was too perfect, and they wasted it.
You know what they didn't waste though? They didn't waste Monday Night Raw. Thankfully,
No, not at all.
because
It was a
Seriously.
show.
even though we didn't have a physically cleared Seth Rollins, we did get graced with the presence of Ricochet, Aleister Black, Ciampa, and Gargano.
All
That
some
was
great showings.
fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
I
very
loved how
strong
they had
debuts.
Ricochet come out, save Balor, get him in a little tag team action. I actually heard that
What a
match was
team.
originally supposed to be Balor versus Ricochet,
Yep.
and
I
they
heard
flipped
the
it
same
around
thing.
at the last minute.
What
And
a
you know
team.
what? I'm happy with it because those guys were fucking awesome together.
Hell yeah.
I would love to see them together as a tag team. I think that'd be really interesting. You
That's
want to
one of
shake up
those
the tag
things
team
where they-
division? Put those two together.
Let them go and do their separate stuff, like Randy Orton and Edge, where it's like, okay, they've done a lot. Let's reset their characters a little bit. Go
Right.
back to that. Go back to something like that. Go to like Ricochet and AJ. Ricochet and we can name a million of them. We're not going to bother doing that. But he's one of those kind of characters. You can put him in any situation, and you're going to get some great stuff. And then
Hell
Finn, faction them up. Oh man.
There's
man,
so
can we go
much
to faction
potential
right
there.
now?
There's so much potential.
Holy moly! So we'll
Like,
see what
and
they
they
do
did
with
so
it.
they did so well. Shane McMahon had them come back out, all four of them come back out the next night on SmackDown and do it all over again.
Apparently,
I'm
they took a
reading-
big rating spike.
Yeah, what I'm
Yeah, hell
reading
yeah.
is they're very happy with how everything went down. Change kind of flipped on the fly, little tinkers like the Ricochet versus Finn,
Right.
which was genius. Don't split that crowd. They were already dead to begin with. They wouldn't know what the hell to do with that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought they were great when they came back up to SmackDown. Phenomenal again. Almas and Black revisiting that
What a
was
match.
just
Oh my
terrific.
God,
And it's always fun to
beautiful.
watch Vega watching Black get beat up since they're real life married couple,
Husband
but
and
her
wife, yeah.
facial expressions from Zelina Vega are just terrific. But so what I'm reading is they are going to continue doing all three shows for a while and basically be workhorses. They're going to get a very hard, strong flooding of viewing to enhance their push, which is what they should be doing. Like that's just what they're sort of done.
Yeah. Oh, I know
But-
we've talked about this off pod too, about you guys saying that Gargano is going to get the NXT title away from Ciampa. But with him dropping the North American to Velveteen Dream, big shout out to Velveteen Dream for picking that up on Wednesday night.
So where the
Dream.
fuck was he on fucking Raw and SmackDown?
He was too
Because-
busy getting ready for
Listen,
his
I
fucking
agree.
match in NXT to win
Well,
that championship, baby.
There's a few things that I
But
think
hey,
I see happening. But
in Dream's defense, Gargano had 2 matches and then fought him. So
Well, I mean,
he didn't really
to
need
be
to
fair.
be
In reality, that match was 3 weeks ago.
fair. Very fair.
well, look, I think
Come on,
it
we're
makes
trying
more
to play
sense
kayfabe
now.
here, all right?
It makes a little bit more sense now why they were kind of pushing Gargano and Ciampa back around each other. In terms of at least for the main roster stuff, it looks like they're going to be a tag team, which I have no problems with as long as they don't do the breakup the same exact way, which scares me because
You know
there's
what I'd
only
be
really
interested to
a
see then
handful
if
of
that
ways to break
happens?
up. There's only a handful of ways for tag teams to break up, and they've kind of already done the main one.
Yeah.
So that worries me a little bit. But
I'd
they
like,
are.
I'd like to see Ciampa and Gargano versus Ricochet and Balor.
That'd
I
be
think that'd
fun.
be a hell of a tag team match.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be a lot of fun, but I
I'm-
don't
I'm-
want to
I'm
see
reading-
DIY in a full-time return. They're better alone.
I'm
They're better
reading
alone.
Good. I'm reading good things that there's a plan in place at least to get them some spotlight. We'll see.
It deserves it,
These
honestly.
are four characters. These are 4 gentlemen who give them the ball. They did this in on NXT. They didn't even have to have belts on them, and they stole the show every single solitary night.
Hell
They
yeah.
are just phenomenal athletes, and it's something that I want to kind of broach the topic of with these 4. Obviously, or over time at least, I'm thinking Takeover WrestleMania would be their last, their final showing before they bail out. At least some of them, maybe not even all of them. I think a couple of them will just be out by now. So looking at it around WrestleMania Takeover before we move on, or something that we can talk about later, who's next in NXT to rise to that? Like they always seem to have like a class where they
Right.
move up. Like Finn took it. Finn took it from Kevin. Joe took it from Finn. Drew took it. And they had these classes that kind of come up in big groups. Right now, if you look, this was the class. Like these were the big 4 names that were constantly involved in things, and with big people besides Dream. So now, like who I would think would be Dream, Dream, Adam Cole, Keith Lee, and Riddle, Matt Riddle. There's no real heels there besides.
I feel like Dream is like the Rock of NXT.
He seems to be like that new lifeblood. I think he's going to be the first one to hold the North American and the NXT Championship, not at the same time, but he's going to be the first one to hold both.
Yeah,
I think it's Gargano. I think that feud's running a lot longer than we actually think it's going to run.
Do you think with those?
I just see it being harder to do that with them jumping back and forth on all three shows, especially if they're going to be a tag team.
Because they're still telling the story. Because every fucking promo they cut together, Johnny keeps eyeing that NXT title anytime Ciampa's speaking.
There's something still funky there, and I'm excited to see it. I hope that they break up because or not break up, but stay broken up. Because like I said, if they come up as a tag team, there's only one direction that they end up going. And they will rush that because it was gold when they did. So it'll be neat to develop. I'm not saying that Dream is going to be the one to take it necessarily from Ciampa, but I do see him holding both belts at some point before he comes up. Not simultaneously, at some point, both. But they're the big four that I see. I'm curious as another heel.
Because I don't watch NXT too frequently. Has Ricochet ever been NXT champion?
No, he is North American champion.
Just North American.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah,
he
but
had
he's
a good
bigger
run down
than
there. He didn't really need any belts, I don't think, personally.
No, I mean he didn't need it, but the dude's a freaking phenomenal athlete. Yeah. Like
I'm honestly surprised he started in NXT. Like he's kind of got the same clout that AJ does, if we're being realistic.
Yeah,
it was all promo work. It was get him down there and get a little bit more comfortable on the promo work.
That's true. He's never really good on the mic.
That was the same thing with Finn. Finn wasn't NXT, wrestling needed. He was down there specifically because he never talked in front of a crowd. All of his promos in New Japan were with a handful of people. There was never in the ring.
That's true, but he also needed to learn how to wrestle the American hard cam style, like Shinsuke needed to.
But that was more of. But again, like that was more of something that he said I could have trained. That would have been something I could overcome. Legitimately, he was down there for the speaking because he didn't understand it at first. He was like, talking to Triple H. He's like, I can go and do this. They're like, no, we know you can, but you never really talked in front of people. He's like, oh, I can do that too. They went out there and put him in front of a crowd, and he froze. And they were like, yeah, this is why you're here. And apparently, like he got through it. It was like a practice, and Triple H came out and saw him like standing outside of the building. And he's like, "Yo, kid, what's going on?" He was like, "I didn't realize it was gonna be that hard." He's like, "Yeah, that's why you're here." He's like, "All right," and he committed to learning how to do some more promo work, and that was his main work down there. So like they're down there for different reasons. Right. Adam Cole, I think, is down there to be the veteran leader. He's not. He doesn't need anything down there in terms of wrestling style or anything. I think that he's in a perfect position to be that veteran heel leading that whole place.
Real quick before you guys go, real quick, I think Doc's been trying to cut in for a second.
No,
keep talking.
It's just interesting because here we are talking about who's next in NXT, and we're looking at NXT stars, but we heard the Boston Hug, connection talk about how they were going to defend this women's championship. All three brands. We now see 4 competitors from the NXT brand now competing on 2 additional brands. Is this finally opening that Triforce for teams and shows to go from show to show to show to show to showcase the talent, to polish the talent, and to continue working on the talent? And if so, right now with the 4 they had on SmackDown and Raw, it's a phenomenal start, and I would like to see more of this.
Boom. I said this months ago. They're listening. It took months to plan, but I said this months ago.
And you know what? I'd gander to say that NXT has some stronger talent for females tag teams than the main roster. They've gotten more teams on the main roster. Just by default, you have more women, you're going to put more people together. But I think that the talent roster down in NXT would make for a more entertaining set of champions in the division than
in terms of matching personalities, especially.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And totally. I think we're not just talking about Sky Pirates because that's the easy one to go to. Yeah. But between all the different people that you have down there, perfect.
I agree.
What do y'all?
And this is where you can develop tag teams that start women's tag teams that start as tag teams, like the Revival, where and the old school tag teams where these guys were tag teams as specialists. The Steiner brothers were tag teams until Scott Steiner lost his mind completely, and then from all the bleach, and really went nuts and decided to never redo his website. Papa Punk.
Have you guys seen this motherfucker's website?
We always go back to this. Don't start it again. We always derail. No.
Stop it.
My bad.
Stop.
My bad.
Why?
My bad.
Why'd you do this?
My bad. So they can focus on developing and establishing females who are teams and have been for a long time.
Every time you refresh that fucking website, there's a new audio clip.
I hate you. I hate the both of you.
I'm sorry, guys. It was not my intention. I was trying to make a good point.
Okay, you know what? If we're talking about any daddies, we're gonna talk about the big bad curry daddy. All right. And I'm just trying to move this the fuck along.
All right.
I want to stop talking about Scott Steiner.
All right. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna talk a little bit about Drew McIntyre. He beat Dean Ambrose in 2 minutes. Great. I don't give a fuck about Dean Ambrose. Now let's move on to SmackDown.
Hey, that's my line.
It's almost our shirt. So now we're gonna talk about SmackDown, because that's all they really want to give Dean Ambrose. That's all I'm willing to give him on this show. Mandy Rose beat Asuka. How crazy was that? Did you see that coming? Because I sure as hell didn't.
The fuck?
I didn't see it because I don't have TV yet.
New Diggs problems.
So Mandy Rose beat Asuka, and apparently that's going to be one of the matches for Mania, which, okay. I'm cool with it.
All right.
Wait,
I mean,
so
if
just
she beats
fuck
Asuka, that's
Fastlane?
dope as fuck.
Mania, not even Fastlane?
I think Fast. I know they're talking about pitching Mandy versus Asuka for Mania. We'll see.
I'd see it. I'd buy it.
I like
I'd be
Mandy
down.
Rose. Man, Mandy Rose is good. Mandy Rose is solid.
She throws a mean fucking knee, bro. Like she's got them on lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's good on the mic. She's good in the ring. She's got a lot of presence. She's great with Sonya Deville. Hell yeah.
I'm so hypnotized right now by the bootydaddy.com. Why did you guys even bring this to my attention?
Why isn't Ref here?
All right.
When Doc finds the Big Booty Daddy's website.
It's fucking
Freaks
brutal.
my peaks.
I love that Scott Steiner is a running joke on our fucking podcast.
I love that every time you refresh his website, it's a new fucking soundbite. It's amazing.
So, Ref, let me fill you in. Doc has also now found the Big Booty Daddy's website.
This is great.
It's fucking terrible.
I'm back in the 90s.
I'm not taking blame for this one. I'm not taking blame for this.
Ref's taking an ibuprofen due to the big booty headaches we're all getting from fucking so much Scott Steiner talk.
All right. Listen,
Pretty
guys.
much.
Daddy's
I mentioned his name and it just derails everything.
Listen, guys.
If you say it 3 times, you can hear in the distance, holler if you hear me.
Can we get the booty daddy for the Bullet Club Bach party?
Please
Oh my
no.
God.
I don't think I
Please
can
no.
even pretend to afford what he's going to ask for.
No.
All right.
Can we get Virgil on our budget?
Oh boy.
No.
Fucking at this point, I think we can barely afford the Hurricane.
Look, you lost us the Hurricane. He's now hired by this company because we brought his name up again.
Well, let's talk about people that are now.
Go for it. Go. Let's get back on track here.
Let's talk about some people that need to, look for some new opportunities here. Ty Dillinger asked for his release, and Ty Dillinger had said some really interesting stuff in his note. It was basically like, hey, I just really want to explore and I want to become even better than I am now, that kind of thing. So I'm wishing that Ty Dillinger does some good shit. Now, obviously, every single time a wrestler leaves WWE, we're going AEW. Who knows? Maybe. But I'm just hoping someone like Ty Dillinger now gets the ability to do something a little bit more with himself. He was in there for 10 years.
I would rather see him in Japan than AEW. Let him show an aggressive side, while the man has been in developmental hell for 10 plus years. Let's AEW would be everyone's first choice. I'd rather see him mess things up in Dragon Gate or New Japan, just make a name for himself abroad.
Juice Robinson style. I think you go the Juice Robinson route where it's it's an interesting character, solid up with strong wrestling. Get away from the perfect 10 gimmick, change up some things like that, but still keep the the personality going. I don't people again. Everybody gets all excited going, oh yeah, now they're free to do whatever they want. They either go out and they make it or they don't. They either go out and become somebody new and reinvent themselves, which is a small percentage. I hope Ty Dillinger, the absolute best. I really, really like Ty Dillinger. It doesn't really, his character and everything doesn't fit, and that's management's fault because that's what they gave him to do. He made the most of it. But do we see him going out and being that giant name? I don't know. So people get really excited like, FWW, this is what they get, this is what they get. I hope Ty Dillinger goes out and does something bigger. But let's not pretend that this is like he's out of hell and suddenly in heaven.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
They didn't lose a big star, but I just think he's got a shot. I think he's spent enough time in the business. He's made enough friends.
I agree.
He's got a decent shot.
I like Ty.
This is something.
I like him a lot.
This is something I usually go back to, and I don't know if I've said this on pod before, but I know I've said this to you guys off pod. It's interesting when you think about the dichotomy between WWE and every other wrestling company, at least from what they show. Let me put it this way. Other wrestling companies are shows about wrestling and about the wrestlers. WWE is a TV show about a family that owns a wrestling company, whereas some of the wrestlers in these other promotions could be themselves. They're selling their character. But whereas with WWE, you're a wrestler that has the ability to act, so you're doing whatever gimmick they give you. And if you can't pull that and make it appeal to a crowd, regardless of the good or bad storylines they give you, you're basically, like you said, in development hell, or just rebranding and just going back and forth. And, for someone like Ty Dillinger, and kind of to go to your point, Raph, like you've been talking about for the last couple episodes, not everyone who leaves WWE is going to be a big star. There have been plenty of people who have left who it's just they've floundered or they've kind of laid on the Rebels, or whatever it is, that they've made in WWE. So we'll see. But I think Ty Dillinger
because a lot of people that are in WWE are fucking puppets. Like you said, it's a show about a family that owns a wrestling company, right? Everything that you're seeing is the strings being pulled by the McMahon family. Right. And when a lot of these people that don't have enough of their own legs underneath them to know what to do when they get out on their own, they flounder. When you have guys like AJ Styles who spent so much time away from WWE before he even got into it, that he could leave and still be able to handle on his own. But a lot of these guys know nothing outside of the WWE world, and that makes it a lot harder for them to adapt and to grow and to be able to build their own character because they don't have that same guidance and puppet string pulling that they were getting.
Right.
You're right. Totally.
To be fair, and if any of our listeners out there can think of other examples or think I'm wrong, please let us know on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, any social media platform. But everyone that's recently either gotten released or asked for their release, aside from Darren Young, has actually gone on to do big things. Like look at Neville. Look at look at Jack Swagger. He just won his first professional MMA fight, and now he's the Lucha Underground champion.
That might not come back.
But he's still it.
Yeah.
Like he was still part of a clout-based company.
I'm hesitant to say that a lot of these guys are hitting that maximum success personally, because you also have guys that are not at all beyond Darren Young. Ryback's not doing shit. That dude tried to charge right out.
I think the guys that are doing it are.
Ryback's more of a businessman and a wrestler now, though. Let's be fair. Ryback has successful businesses.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking in the wrestling world. If you want to go out and do other things, that's fine, whatever. But if you want to leave and stay in the wrestling business, that's where I'm skeptical that these folks are going to be. All these folks that are saying that people deserve to leave and should leave so that they can grow and be amazing. I don't see it for a lot of these guys. Personally, that's all. I don't think that everybody that leaves is going to be successful. And so, and I think that people need to calm down with that whole, if this person leaves, they're going to be great. If that person leaves, they're going to be great. It's not that kind of world for wrestling. And just because AEW is out there doesn't mean anybody's going to fit that mold. We don't know what that mold's going to even be.
Like, look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is a perfect example. Cody Rhodes is a perfect example. I think when he left, a lot of people were concerned for him, not taking into account that this man is a third-generation superstar and comes from a very long wrestling background, knows the business in and out very well. Not everybody has that advantage. Yeah. Cody definitely has an advantage in that regard because he knows the business side of it as well as the wrestling side of it. That's something that makes him stand out and gives him that edge to be able to survive on his own, not underneath WWE's wing.
Yeah, yeah, and he enhanced his character. It literally unclipped his wings so he could be Cody Rhodes as opposed to whatever the hell. It didn't even matter, Stardust or whoever else he was when he was Cody Rhodes even in WWE. It allowed him to really be who he is. Not a lot of guys are going to be able to reach that level of connection still with the audience and things like that.
Right.
Jack Swagger doesn't have a huge connection with the audience. He
had R-Truth come in and do his like little rap song for him,
which I thought was pretty cool.
That was pretty sick.
Actually pretty dope.
There's a lot of good from these guys leaving. I'm not saying that if they were requesting a release, they have some sort of idea, hopefully, as to where their next step is. And I wish them all nothing but the success of course. I just try to slow down the thought process that WWE is some sort of hell to be in.
Right.
I just don't like them being painted as this place that nobody should ever go. It is entertaining. It is why wrestling exists in any aspect that it does right now. I like what the product is. It's not doing great story wise, but it's working within the confines of what they see. It's a business.
I don't fully disagree with you because from a fan perspective, yes, but from a businessman perspective, from a wrestler perspective, right? Like if I'm out there as an independent wrestler, I have my own business, right? I have to represent myself. Why am I going to go somewhere that has a plethora of people that they're not doing anything with that are just as talented, if not more talented than myself?
Because people still are. Because they still are.
Paycheck.
Right. Yeah. Those people are desperate for a paycheck. I would rather be the type of person that's going to fight and get to where I feel I deserve to be without being put in a place that I'm going to get stuck and lost.
But that barometer of where I deserve to be, what is that to you? Because to a lot of these guys, to 99.9% of these wrestlers who started, that goal was WWE.
Right, regardless of where they're placed.
Before they realize what they get into once they're there.
But unless they're there, they don't realize it. And that's my point. There's still 98% of wrestlers who have not been in WWE. And that is still their goal. With the exception of New Japan, because it's the bulk of their wrestlers are homegrown. That's their nation. That's their representation of their product.
It's a resume builder, though. Think about that. Like, who wouldn't want to say, "Oh, I've been part of WWE"? Like, that's going to make it easy for you to go somewhere else and get recognition and get picked up because you have that. A lot of the time, yeah.
Sometimes, that's the only point. Sometimes you either elevate or you're in bingo halls doing the move set that you said you hated doing in WWE because that's the only thing people will pay you to do. Because that is a lot of wrestlers.
So a lot. Absolutely. I can understand the argument on a lot of your point. The problem is the reason why people feel that way is because WWE was the only steady game in town.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we can't speak any further. We're not prophets unless, we kind of are because WWE is obviously listening in and taking my match ideas. But like if AEW pans out and they do something different, the future generation of wrestlers are going to be like, maybe, you know what? I think I want to go to AEW instead of WWE. The reason why you were having this conversation right now is because they've been the only game in town for the last 20 years since WCW went under.
You said if 2 times and maybe 2 times in one sentence.
I can't speak for the future.
That's my point. I'm saying right here, right now, for people to put everything saying that WWE is dead because of AEW and that they have to do this, that, the other. I don't see it right now because it's just not happening. We're still getting names in. They're still getting names in. And the name that has to leave is Ty Dillinger.
You've trapped your thought process in a box, and I'm telling you to break your box because there could be a new game in town, and we got to respect that. I think there is a new game because they're signing people. They got a lot of money. This is a Ted Turner level play. Now, again, I think they're a T-shirt company until they put on a show. I agree with you there. But I feel like we have to give credit where credit is due, and it's a very old way of thinking we can debate about right now. But if AEW doesn't work out, what kind of domino effect this is going to have on the wrestling landscape. This all depends because there's one game in town for right now, and that is obviously going to not last forever because WWE is finally starting to show cracks.
But I'm not saying just AEW. I'm not saying just AEW is suddenly now just because of AEW.
And I'm not talking just AEW.
I'm talking about options as a whole. There's one more option than there was ever before. People keep saying there's so many more options. There's one more. That's it. Everything else has already been there for all this time. AEW is just coming in. It's new. It has money. It might have a TV deal. I have no doubts that all those things are absolutely going to happen and things are going to move forward. But we have no idea what kind of brand is actually going to be.
You can also go to Impact too.
There we go. And again, that's my point. None of us have said Impact at all.
You can go to Ring of Honor. You can go to New Japan. There's actually like 3 places you can get steady pay now as a wrestler.
You just said my point. That was exactly my point. Everybody's saying there's all these choices now. There always has been. So for people to say now that AEW is here, all of a sudden we have all these choices and WWE is effed. How's that possible with one more company? That's my only point.
What's the match of the week?
Well, let's talk about 2 guys that came from the independents and moved into the WWE trajectory, because I think they were given a really good spotlight for what we're going to talk about for our match of the week, which is Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam 2016. By the way, in our little text messages that we do, that we fucking plan the show, that we talk about wrestling for all you fans and all that, we realized that the Universal title has been around since 2016. How crazy is that shit?
Not a single run has been meaningful.
You know what's funny is we were talking about this when we found this out, and you were like, wow, that belt's 2 years old. And I was like, yeah, see what happens when it's not on TV? It affects its longevity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we got to talk about this match, though, because we got to kind of take the Universal title and the curse of it and move it to the side, because this match was really brutalized by a crowd, basically calling this fucking belt the Fruit Loop belt, really trashing the belt. But listen, if y'all haven't seen it, we're going to give you a match to watch. Go watch that shit on the WWE Network. It is I think it's one of the best matches of both of their careers. Any match where fucking Seth Rollins gets the chance to hit a God's last gift, hell yeah.
Didn't we talk about this last week as like the match to watch? Are we announcing it? I thought we we told them to watch it last week.
No, we didn't. We didn't have match of the week last week because we had a lot of shit to talk about.
Last week? Oh,
no, we're starting it back now.
Episode.
Yeah,
we're starting it back now. Okay, I prepared this time, and I'm still unprepared.
But it was a fucking amazing match. If y'all haven't seen the God's Last Gift, because they don't announce it, Cole just goes, wow, or some dumb shit like that. Basically, it's one of Seth Rollins' coolest moves when he was Tyra Black in the Indies. He basically hits a, I don't know, like a package brain buster.
Oh, yeah, that suplex into a small package.
Holy shit.
It's like I'm watching it now because I forget the move.
It's a small package driver.
Yes, that's exactly what they call it. It was
sick. Oh, right into a pin attempt.
Yeah, it's a small package driver. It's a beautiful move. Yeah. That was another little storytelling bit to show you how important this match was, because he had to go deep in the bag of tricks.
That was his Seth Black. Tyler Black finisher. That was his finisher on the Indies.
I don't think we've seen him use that move since that match.
No, he's never used that move except for that match, I think.
That's an indie. That's an indie move. That's a move crazy. That you see on the Indies. I like the match. Sorry, go ahead, Serge. Go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize. But like Finn gets hurt like 4 minutes into that match.
Yeah.
And that match is like a 30-minute match.
Yeah.
Which is like watching that match with hindsight, like knowing that he's hurt, you're like, what the fuck is this match?
The shit that he pulls off with his arm fucked up like that.
He said he knew he was hurt.
Oh yeah, because you watch him. If you watch that spot when he hits the barricade, they show him grab his arm and pop it back into place.
Oh shit!
You got to go back and really watch carefully. It's right as the camera's panning away from him. He grabs his arm like this and boom, pops it back in.
Like you see a hinge in it. It's pretty wild.
What's incredible is and you do, and right, and the reason why we want you guys to watch this match is because if you can block out the crowd, because the crowd fucked that match over.
Watch it on mute.
Hard.
You don't need to hear Cole.
No,
watch it on mute.
Unfortunately, you need to watch it with the sound on because you need to hear like the smacks of the heads. You need to hear it. It's important to the storytelling of the match. That was two men who wanted it more than the other person did. It was whose body gave out first.
Yep.
Yeah, it had that feel to it. It had that feel like
it, and that crowd made it feel like it was a fucking Raw match when it wasn't. It was an amazing match.
And that's why fans, stop trying to hijack the show. We had an episode about this when they hijacked Seth and Dolph Ziggler with the countdowns. People complain about wanting these matches to happen and these dream matches, these indie dream matches to happen. That was the first shot we had at it, and we failed miserably. I think they absolutely heard all of those. Vince McMahon heard all of those boos and all that heckling and all those jeers at that belt as a sign of they don't care who's in the ring. That was not, oh man, they don't like my belt. That was, they don't care who's in the ring.
Right. I was thinking that exact same thing.
Very, Brock didn't show up until after that.
I legitimately you hit the nail right on the head, ref. Me watching that match, I was like, the crowd just completely spoiled all of this.
Every bit of it.
And
every
then afterwards we got they stopped listening to us. Like they stopped caring because
they gave us what we wanted. They gave us Finn as the Universal Champion 3 matches into his career. They gave it to us. They gave us that golden child that we begged and prayed for from the Indies, pulled him up, who created an international phenomenon with the Bullet Club. Oh, by the way, April 7th, are you guys busy?
Oh, dude, I'm doing something.
I know
WrestleMania is on. I don't remember what, though.
WrestleMania is later, so if you guys aren't busy, I think me and 4 other dudes are going to be at a block party.
Dude, the Bullet Club block party. Hell yeah.
You've heard of it?
Dude, I'm going.
You're going?
Yeah, you
I'm
going?
I'll be there.
Oh my God. Fridge?
Something's happening. I mean, I'm going.
Well, shit.
If the producer's going, then I got to ride over there. So I guess I got to make a public appearance sooner or later.
So we're the ones going to the Bullet Club block party that was started by Finn Balor, who's now in WWE, who we all know and love. Got it. I'm glad I connected those dots.
I don't know who Finn Balor was during the Bullet Club, but Prince Deviant, if you're going to pay respect.
Devitt.
So in
Devitt. Yeah, thank you.
Usually what we say is that we're rocket strapping people to the moon, but Finn Balor, I think you rocket strapped us to get to the Bullet Club block party. Motherfucker,
yeah,
you guys go watch this match because I think ref says it best. You, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor in this fucking match of the week are studs.
Studs. The crowd, duds. Duds.
Right, so let me...
Brooklyn, you bunch of fucking duds.
You duds. You're done.
You duds. You fucking duds.
Hey guys, this is usually where we cut in a commercial telling you to check us out on Podbean, on the podcast app, over on Facebook and Instagram, and over on Pro Wrestling Tees. But if this is the first time you're listening to us, you probably heard it already. And if this isn't the first time you've been listening to us, you know where to find us already. Right now, I want to bring on an interview with Brando of Blackcraft Wrestling to talk about the promotion Blackcraft Wrestling. Talk about some upcoming events, talk about who they are, and what they're all about. Check it out. So how's everything going for you today, my man?
Good, man. Just on the way to Canada right now, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, on the road. We have a show tomorrow in Toronto.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit. Yeah, so I kind of, first off, before we get into the events you got coming up, Blackcraft's been making a lot of waves recently over, at least from what I see on social media, on just like with all the roster you have coming out. What's How did you guys get started with Blackcraft Wrestling? Like, where are you guys based out of? How did you guys start with this idea of more of the macabre kind of wrestling style?
So I have to give a lot of the credit to Bobby Shabinsky, who is one of the founders of Blackcraft Cult Clothing. I was actually sleeping in, as I usually do, till about 12, 1 o'clock p.m., knocks on my bedroom door. He's like, bro, come on, wake up. I have an idea. I'm like, all right. He's like, I really need you to hear this idea. So I sit down Indian style in the living room, and he throws it at me. He goes, we're going to do wrestling. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, let's do it, man. I'm in. And from there, it just kind of spawned. You know, it was an idea. Before you knew it, we had a show booked. Talent starts reaching out to us, and, you know, it's like, all right, well, let's go. We have all the right pieces. And, you know, it's cool because Blackcraft reaches out to the rock world. They dabble into the horror world. So we have some unique elements that other wrestling promotions really don't have. And it's cool to bring them all together and see what we can do with it and the magic that we create with it.
Absolutely. I know that I've just been looking on some of the social media stuff you got going on. I know you guys just talked about and have up for sale, if not already, the Blackcraft Championship. And that thing looks freaking sick.
I love that thing, man. I actually designed it, and I based it off the old WWF title from the 90s, like the big round belt, the blue one that Austin held for a little bit. I was like, man, that's such an iconic title, at least for my childhood. So I want to create something that's kind of similar to it, but has its own little dark twist. But yeah, you can go pick it up, blackcraftwrestling.com. We have pre-orders until March 1st, and then they're gone.
And I'm sure Johnny Blackcraft's going to be walking around with that thing. Like, dude, if you're the champion for Blackcraft Wrestling, why would you not walk around with that? That thing is the coolest.
Right? Like, I'd be in airports with that thing, like everywhere. Let's go.
So let me ask you a question a little bit too. So there's a lot of different ways to obviously go with a wrestling company. You know, you could go down the road of, let's say, like a Ring of Honor, where they really highlight a lot of like the acrobatics and the flips as like their pushing point. You have a Lucha Underground, which is positioned as kind of more of a like Quentin Tarantino style wrestling company. So what made you guys decide to go down the road of more of like the occulty style with characters like the Preacher and even having wrestlers like John Hennigan come in with Johnny Blackcraft as a name, Killer Cross, like that kind of style, as opposed to going towards something else?
Well, I mean, it's like a shoe-in. It's a natural fit for us because we already have that occult, dark image and that motif going on already. So it's kind of just playing to it. And really, I don't even think we've really hit our stride yet as far as what we can do, as far as dabbling into the horror world and live special effects and treating it almost more of a theatrical show than it is a professional sporting event, something like a Ring of Honor where it's more acrobatics and athletics. I want to give you a show, man. I want you to leave feeling like you just left, a Broadway show where you're like, holy shit, how did they do that?
It's interesting. A lot of these companies are starting to go in more that direction. I think when, you had more of those wrestling-based companies saying, you know what, we're going to focus on the sports element of it. But then you had your Lucha Underground and now Blackcraft and even Impact going, you know what, we want to go down that road of exploring things. Like if this is a show, let's bring more of those elements in. Let's make more of the characters that can tap into something more, more than just being able to do flips or more than just being able to do holds, things like that. It's super sick. Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the heart, it's theatrics. WWE calls it sports entertainment. It's a great way to label it, but it's theater, man. And, the sporting part of it's great, but it's storytelling and creating a wholesome story that's thorough from beginning to end is the most important part. And then highlighting it with things that you wouldn't normally see in wrestling. I mean, that's one of the best ways to do it. So now you got a couple of different events going on. You got No Apologies coming up on April 5th, but obviously you have this event coming up on the 23rd. Tell us a little bit about both of them that you got. Yeah, for sure. So the 23rd is our first of a crusade, let's say. We're going to be invading Destiny Wrestling. The Preacher is bringing the Cult, and we're bringing some of our finest Blackcraft warriors to go head-to-head with Destiny Wrestling's talent. Every match is a Blackcraft warrior versus a Destiny performer. So it's going to be pretty cool. Double main event, we have our champion, Johnny Blackcraft, going against the first ever Destiny champion, which is PJ Black. So that's going to be one hell of a match already. And then we have the Destiny World Wrestling Champion, Josh Alexander, going up against
a newcomer for us, Simon Grimm. So I'm really excited for that. But April 5th, WrestleMania weekend, we've got a great time slot of midnight, April 5th, taking over the old Joey Janela spring break time slot. And man, do we have a hell of a show packed. So many things that we have signed that cannot even be announced yet, but we're going to blow the roof off that place.
WrestleMania weekend's the weekend to do it, too. I know we're going to be over with you guys on April 5th. We're going to be doing the Bullet Club block party. There's so much stuff that a lot of people have developed around WrestleMania weekend, and especially now that it's happening in like the tri-state area, forget about it. You guys are going to have so much traffic.
It's going to be crazy. WrestleMania weekend itself is just a spectacle because you have all these fans from all over the world, and everyone's there in that city just for wrestling, and it's really cool to watch wrestling take over an entire town like that.
In 2019, even like last year, let's say over the last couple of years, wrestling's come back. Wrestling's become cool again in all these different styles. So not only is someone like WWE selling out, like MetLife stadiums, those kinds of things, you're getting all of every other company who's able to now take advantage of the fact that wrestling's come back into the spotlight again.
I mean, it's crazy. Look at New Japan and Ring of Honor. They're, Madison Square Garden. Like, that's insanity. It's really cool. It's a good time to be in the wrestling industry, and it's even better time for a fan because you have so many options that no matter what style you're looking for, you can find it. It's there.
Now, let me ask you a question, too, because you have, if I'm looking at the champions correctly, you have Johnny Blackcraft as your heavyweight champion. You guys have OVE, OI4K as your tag champions, and then you got Saraya Knight, which we know as Paige from WWE's mother, as the women's champion. Do any of these crossovers that you have with these stars, let's say in Impact and in Lucha and with Paige now doing Fighting With My Family, has that helped bring more eyes towards Blackcraft as well over the last couple months?
I would like to think so, definitely. I mean, when you have those names, you kind of have to assume that you're going to pop up at some point. It's cool because once we started with Burning Bridges back in August, Johnny was on Survivor, so he's on network television, once a week, in addition to being on Impact, in addition to being on Lucha Underground. So it was really cool, and I think that really helped to bring Blackcraft's name around. Definitely the press now with Fighting With My Family with Saraya, I mean, it's huge. She actually was supposed to be on our show tomorrow in Canada. Actually, I don't know when this is airing, so she was supposed to be on The Ritual February 23rd in Canada, but had to pull off because of a movie premiere in the UK. So yeah, it's definitely being a big impact on us.
Now, come on, be honest. Have you gone and tried to get Saraya to bring the women's championship to the Fighting With My Family premiere? She's like, yeah, this piece of hardware, I'll tell you about it.
You know what? I would love to. I would never ask her to do that because she does so many things on her own. She defends that title all over Europe, all over Australia. And it's unreal just to have, the name Saraya Knight defending the Blackcraft Women's Championship. That itself is just enough for me.
Blackcraft, I think, along with other companies in 2000, again, I keep going back to 2019 because that's where we are, but all these companies are allowing their belts to be defended in other places. It's really cool, and it's starting to show that, wrestling's starting to come back into, let's say, a territory system where you're having Blackcraft going over to these different companies. You're having Impact having their titles defended. You're having some of the startup companies that are coming up now. And it's just all of this intermingling that's really being able to help promote each product and just really bring eyes to it. It's really cool.
Oh, I agree, dude. That synergy between promotions is so necessary, especially in a time like now where you have AEW coming up, where you have the big players like WWE and New Japan and Ring of Honor. Those little guys got to stick together. Like we are down to work with any promotion just to help each other. I look at it as we are the ultimate heel promotion. Let's work with someone because we can put you guys over so hard and make you guys look so good because we're the bad guys. Our whole roster is full of heels.
Hell yeah. Hey, that's not bad, though, and especially with people like OVE that you have. I know you have the brothers with you for OVE. Do you guys see Sami Callihan coming through? Maybe I've missed that he's come through at one point already. I don't know.
He has not come through. We would definitely like to do something there. Who's to say we don't do a show in Ohio someday, and hell, maybe he makes an appearance.
That'd be so sick. That'd be ridiculous. Him and Johnny Blackcraft going at it for the championship, and then just have the OVE stable with all the gold or all the black hardware, we'll say. So let me ask you a few more things before we sign off here. If you were to, let's say in the landscape of wrestling, male, female, whatever the case, who are some of the names that you'd like to see come across the Blackcraft stage there?
Oh man, that's so tough because there's so many, but I already love who we have because I like pulling out some guys that, you may have never even heard of, but they have a good look and they're great in the ring. But if you're going to put me on the spot, I don't know. I'd love to see like a Will Ospreay. I'd love to see like Minoru Suzuki. Just some randoms like that, Of course, like Undertaker, right? Like, wouldn't that be a perfect fit? Like, you hear the bells toll and the dead man just starts walking out. Yeah, there's a slew of names that I would love to have, but I'm already so impressed with who we already do have. I remember a few years ago, I was watching Impact on TV, just as a fan, and I saw Dick Justice for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, like, this guy is amazing. Like, his gimmick is so good. Like, this is great. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do in life, but I need this dude to be a part of it, and he's been on every show since, so it's awesome. It's things like that that just kind of make the promotion a whole.
I gotta say, as I started getting into Blackcraft 2 and kind of researching some of the wrestlers you guys have on roster, I came across Chris Dickinson, who's, number one, he's sick. Number two, I gotta give props to his Vital Remain shirt, too. So,
yes.
Yeah, we're all, it's funny, we all have a little bit of, like, our music backgrounds. For mine is very much in the metal genre. So every time I see someone wearing a Vital Remain shirt, I'm like, fuck yeah, Tim Young, let's get it done.
Hell yeah, man. And Dickinson's a hell of a guy, too, man. We have him going up against Masato Tanaka in Jersey City, and No Apologies. And I just, instantly, my mind goes back to Mike Awesome, Masato Tanaka, One Night Stand. I feel like it's going to be a brutal match just like that one. So, very excited.
That's awesome. Well, I won't keep you too much longer because, again, we're doing this on the road. You're a busy, busy man, and especially with all the stuff you guys got going on, I want you to take the focus to there. Give me the heads up. Where can everyone find you guys?
So you could find us at blackcraftwrestling.com. All of our shows are there. You can stream them. We are now implementing our shows onto Fight. So if you have the Fight app, check us out. Check out The Ritual. Pre-order No Apologies for WrestleMania weekend. Social media at Blackcraft Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at BCW Wrestling on Twitter. Just give us a follow. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, oh, who cares? We're probably going to offend you anyway, so I don't really care.
That's awesome. Brando, thank you so much for making the time. Again, you guys are super busy, and we can't appreciate enough for you guys to at least come on and be able to shoot for a little bit.
Not at all, dude. I'm appreciative that you had me on, John. It's pretty awesome, and I'm glad you guys are fans. Looking forward to seeing you WrestleMania weekend, dude.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much. Take care.
We all should go see Fighting with My Family, too.
Oh, yeah, we should.
I would love to see that.
That'd be great.
Let me know when y'all want to go, boys.
Well, speaking about Fighting with My Family, because it's a really good story about Paige's family and all, and about women coming into the fold of WWE. We started talking a little bit about, on previous podcasts, off pod, whatnot, should the women of WWE now be looking towards having their own show, like an NXT or a 205 Live, and not necessarily being relegated to it, but let's be honest, there's 5 hours of Raw. It feels like 5 fucking hours. There's 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown. There's a bunch of shit.
An hour of NXT.
Yeah, you got all these shows, so what's the harm, or what would be the benefit of having the women have their own show?
I mean, I'm a big proponent of the having their own show. I kind of brought this topic to light myself. It's just because I think they have such a large enough roster now across all three brands that we need some time to tell their stories. And I do not want to segregate them. That's not what this idea is about, because I still want them to have matches on Raw, SmackDown. I would even like to see maybe some matches on 205 Live. Can we mix it up? Can we make it interesting? But I need a focal point for storytelling, because even though we're in the women's revolution, their storylines are getting lost in the fray and backstage segments, and they deserve so much more. And I've been thinking about it. I pitched to you guys in the chat. Let's revitalize Sunday Night Heat. Let's put it on Thursdays. Let's call it Thursday Night Heat, and let's make it an all-women show on the network.
I love your idea of having them jump over to 205. I would even want, if we're going to go as far as giving them their own show, why not make it worth it? Give them more belts to work with, right? You have enough women to do that with, right? Make it happen. Give them a women's cruiserweight championship. You have the women's tag team championships. I don't know, a women's United States champion. Like, you could do so much with that. A women's, right. Give them, there's so much.
We're going to make a trophy because you didn't get a trophy. Here's a champion because you're a champion. You're oversaturating it by creating so many belts.
Absolutely not. There should have been a network champion long ago, and fuck it, let's make it a female belt.
How many belts are there for the men's division alone? If you take all the shows combined,
there's so many belts right now.
Because there's so many people. There's so many athletes out there. There's so many wrestlers in the ring. They have to give them something to work for. You can't tell me that they're oversaturated. Listen, the point system is only going to work for you can't do that with one belt. There's no way. That only works when you have a breakdown of different ways to go.
They don't need 50 different belts for each division like you have on Raw.
They need to have multiple. No, you need to have it broken down more. You can't have everybody on the roster going for one belt. The same way you can't have every single woman on all three shows going for one belt. You can't have everybody going after Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. You know, you can't have everybody going after Toni Storm for the NXT UK Women's Championship. You have to start giving them more to work for. NXT Women's UK Tag Team Champions is next.
Yeah, in the UK. When is it going to be defended in the United States? And that's what I'm saying, is if I'm watching it in my area, and I have nothing to say against the other areas, because I love watching the development, and hey, I enjoy watching the Super Bowl as well, so I would be enjoyed to watch a title of the world's greatest NXT UK, NXT North America, NXT Japan, all go on and battle each other for an official championship. But until that day happens, no more championships for the women. They don't need it.
Sasha and Bayley already said they're going to defend the women's tag team titles across all three shows. So that's already starting to happen. So NXT, the brand itself, technically doesn't need it because you can build up the women from NXT by getting them to go down, Sasha and Bayley, have matches on NXT, defending the titles down there, eventually strapping a women's tag team from down there and bringing them up.
You just proved my point. They eliminated one belt that they didn't need because it's being defended in this Triforce. So why keep on having so many, like the UK, the US, the North America, the
UK is
NXT,
different territory, though.
It's still in the US showing.
So, I guess kind of to put my take on it, as a wrestler, if you look at the goal of a wrestler, it is to win matches and win championships. Right. If you have a roster that is dependent on a lone championship, you cannot create stars. Now, that's why you need a mid-card title. Even fucking NXT realized that, and they made the North American title. You need a women's mid-card belt that just needs to exist. I don't think there needs to be multiple tag belts. I don't think there needs to be, some hokey stuff. But there needs to be... They need to be treated more like the men's roster, and they're not.
Right.
They have one target. And now they have two if they have a friend. They need more goals.
Yes.
And here's the thing.
That's exactly my point. You want to get on that level of equality. You want to give the women just as much time as the men. Well, then you need to give the women just as much gold as the men to give them something to work for.
With WWE now saying that Sasha and Bayley can go down to NXT and defend the tag team championships down there, you opened up the roster of women to move on to Raw and SmackDown, temporarily. I had always been a proponent of let's go ahead and remove the SmackDown Women's Championship and only have one women's champion, but that was when you only had Raw and SmackDown. If you're now saying that Bayley and Sasha can go down and defend these championships, if we're talking about having like, it would be really cool to have them have their own show, then yeah, you can have one main championship, like the one primary championship, the tag championship, and then turn the SmackDown championship into like a mid-card female championship. That would be amazing. But you could defend all these three interpromotionally. The reason why NXT UK has its own belt is because those motherfuckers aren't going to fly over here every week, and these motherfuckers aren't going to fly out there every week. So they need their own division. You know, they need their own titles. They need their own TV show. But if you guys are talking about the women thing, that sounds like you guys are talking about also having them go with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then have their own shit too.
I'm not opposed to that.
I like another belt for the ladies. I don't think the tag team belts we need to go overboard with, but they definitely need a mid-card belt because it ties everybody else up. Ronda Rousey is point proven, where if you have that dominant run in terms on the women's side, you're just waiting for somebody to step up to her, and it really narrows down who can go after them. It's the Brock Lesnar effect too. Whether Brock Lesnar was around every month or not, there's only a select handful of people that can go up against Brock Lesnar that would either make sense or that he's willing to work with, or whatever the million other reasons why. Right. The women, independent women's show won't work because it would have to segregate them. The reason 205 Live didn't work is because they couldn't get any storylines developed, because you would see them once on mainstream TV, and then you were expected to watch the other hour of the story be developed on their independent show. So from week to week, they're either redoing basically everything they did on the show or on Raw, or vice versa. So it just became too hard for them to be consistent because you couldn't get behind anybody. So with the women, it would end up being relatively the same thing. It's either video packages to explain everything that the women would do before they end up going and doing it, or they don't get that independent show. Now, Raw's 3 hours. Everybody's complained about it for 30 years at this point, for however long it's been around. It hasn't been that long. But everybody's been complaining about it since. Give a full hour's worth of time to the women. And that supplants, it doesn't even need to be segregated out as an hour of women's wrestling. Give them legitimately an hour's worth of TV time, or whatever it breaks down to, an equal third. That skills gives the men 2/3 of a show to dominate. SmackDown is a little bit different, but they can crack that egg when they need to.
The problem
that's a start.
The problem I have with what you're saying, Ref, is you're assuming that 3 hours of Raw is 3 hours of WWE programming, and it's not.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Whatever the timing breaks down, whatever the actual TV time breaks down to, a third of that should go to the.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like obviously, I say an hour because, but actual TV time.
You know what's funny? You know why I don't watch Raw or like SmackDown like live, and I always wait for the supercut on Hulu or the highlights immediately following them actually happening on every social media platform ever? It's fucking commercials. I can't fucking stand it. I hate commercials.
It's a lot of commercials.
That's why if they were to pull the trigger on our idea of a women's only show, it's got to be on the network. I don't want commercials. I don't want anything to disrupt me from the action, and I want full amount of time dedicated to them telling stories.
No, what I would like to see, what I would really, really like to see, if fans, if you're that part of a fan that you want to know everything that happened the week, the month beforehand, put a half-hour recap before Raw or before SmackDown, both, that will recap all those video packages that they showed during the show, put those all there on the network for a half hour. Week in review. Boom. You have all the clips that are going to lead into the show. If you care that much to see what happened beforehand, you'll get it. Otherwise, they can talk about it and they can show it in the ring.
Yeah, they have it disappeared quickly because no one cared.
How, oh my God, how much more time would that give for these B-level, players to see if they have A-level material?
Because they don't care about that. All they care about is telling stories with the main people that they want to push.
Of course. And this is just a complaint that won't be solved. They're listening, but they don't care in terms of this one, because, again, that would be more money taken away from somewhere, I'm sure. Or they'll complain, say that's more writing that they would have to do. but that's the best way to put the product out. At least that will open up time for more people to be up there.
Me personally,
more time for longer
I feel
matches.
I feel like with the amount of time that they have across all the shows on television now and also NXT, I feel like they should just cut the whole brand split and just intermingle everything again. You're already testing the waters with that, though. Think about it. You're already testing the waters with that by having Sasha and Bayley defending across all 3 shows, and now having Ciampa, Gargano, Aleister, and Ricochet all being called up technically and bouncing back and forth between all 3 shows. They're testing this theory out again.
I prefer it to be more of like a territory battle. I like this. I like the brand separation. And
I agree.
Me too. I would like to be it more of open market purchasing of services. I know that's hard because it's like, wrestlers would have to agree to move over to the UK or something along those lines. Obviously, they probably want to open it to foreign brands. But between NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, you can appear on any show and you sign a contract with that show. And that doesn't have to be the main time players. You don't have to have AJ come up every however many years. You don't have to give the terms of the contract. You can just make it feel like honestly, more of a territory type of situation.
I'm over the exclusivity of people being on certain shows.
That's what I'm saying.
I really enjoyed it when you got the storytelling of Monday Night Raw leading into Tuesday Night SmackDown. Like Monday Night Raw would go off the air and whatever it was, Thursday Night SmackDown at the time or Friday Night SmackDown. Like you always were in such anticipation because you wanted to see what the remainder of that story that was going to be told. You knew there was more left over and SmackDown finished it off for you for that week.
But
you don't do that now. It's not that same effect.
That hasn't been SmackDown for years. The only reason SmackDown is good again is because they split the brand and they made it its own like TV show again. And The Rock disappeared from his brand many moons ago. Undertaker,
I disagree. I think with the amount of people they have now,
repeat.
they're capable of still making that a quality show while having it continue storylines from Raw.
My issue with that is we get a little rose tinted glasses when we look backwards. When Raw stories led over into SmackDown, the continuation to tell them, it was only 3 people. It was Austin, Triple H, and The Rock. If you were on the mid card, you were fucking nobody.
And then it was Edge, Batista, and Cena.
Yeah, you had Undertaker, you had Shawn Michaels, you had I know obviously I'm rattling off a lot of bigger names, but a lot of them were there too.
Those guys were very willing to be in the shadows, putting people over where they needed to. They were just star power because of wherever they were. It was very different than I think.
But you look at American Badass Taker, he made his return on SmackDown, it was a big deal.
True.
So however, they used that platform for a lot of big returns and things like that too. Not everything was always making his return on Monday Night Raw. A lot of guys made big returns on SmackDown. And
that's why Becky could pull her own show.
They leaned in the favor of Raw, which I think distorts everything in a way. But SmackDown,
it's Vince's baby, and that's very apparent. It's Vince's baby.
Whatever's on Monday night is what they're going to lean towards, whether it's Raw, whether it's SmackDown, whether it's NXT. Yeah, Monday Night Wrestling is where they're going to throw their money.
Yeah.
I think we've diverted a little bit from talking about the women, and I want to rally back to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we did go down alley there.
Yeah. So I'm like, So, but let's use this. Let's use this. What we were talking about. We were talking about that golden era of Raw. But the reason why SmackDown was created was because some of their stars were reaching such a level of popularity that they just had to be seen more on TV. Mm-hmm. And I believe we are reaching that critical mass point with Becky Lynch, 100%. And that's why I'm positioning an all-women show on the network. One, if you want to see more Becky Lynch, you got to pony up $9.99. And 2, she can carry a fucking roster.
She can.
She's shown that she is the future of women. She's shown she's the future of women. She can run storylines because Austin just steamrolled everybody and everybody loved it. Yeah. But Austin also knew when it was the right time to put people over.
Right.
And Becky, I 100%. Believe, has that same mentality. So put the whole roster, put every woman superstar behind her run a show, continue the stories on Raw and SmackDown like everyone misses, and you got a recipe for success.
And you can still have Charlotte be the number 2. Like, there's nothing, like, the thing is, look, nobody's got anything against Charlotte. They have the concept that, oh, she is the favorite child of WWE in the women's side, not Becky Lynch, but Charlotte, which is fine. But you can have a TV show based around, like you were saying, like Rock and Austin, you can have a TV show based around Charlotte and Becky and the way that they navigate the landmines and always end up somehow coming back to each other. You remember when they had the WrestleMania 17 match and Austin's like, I have to beat you. I have to beat you more than anything. And then he shook hands with Vince McMahon. Like, you could have things like that go on between Charlotte and Becky for fucking years and still have great programs that cross between divisions, that cross between shows, and that go and lean into their own show.
That my only worry is making sure that people understand that there's no big gaps that people can't fill in. That was literally my only worry, because I wouldn't want to see them slightly disappear onto. That's fair. I think they need an actual spotlight.
They're disappearing now.
Right. So what you do is you take this hour-long show and you have the stories that they're telling on Raw and SmackDown. You have them bleed into that show, and that show is where you get your focus on the women's wrestling and on the women's stories that they're telling. So you're getting that taste of it on Raw and SmackDown. And it's always going to be there. It's always going to be what drives that spark to be like, oh, I got to jump over to the network and watch the women's show, whatever it may be called.
Did it work with the 205 Live?
No, but who gave a shit about that roster?
Right.
I don't want to say it, but yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that plays a really dangerous line where you're either going to get oversaturated with Becky every 2 times a week, and then expected also tune in on the network too.
But I think
Becky
you're
and
really
Charlotte are the only
downplaying
2 time a week people that you're going to see like that.
I really think, Ref, you're downplaying like the similarity in star power between Austin and Becky right now.
Yeah.
And we saw Austin in and out for years. Like, you'd never stop seeing Stone Cold on TV causing havoc.
But again, I think that's a much different time than right now.
Well, let's also talk a little bit
People
about the
turned
cruiser.
on Roman because of oversaturation and obvious pushes.
Well, they
But-
did.
yeah,
But that's because it wasn't organic.
Yeah, Austin was organic. Becky is organic. Like, that's
100%.
the difference.
But I do want to go back to the comparison of 205 versus the women's division. The 205 Live roster started on the Cruiserweight Classic division in this new iteration, a WWE Network show. And then they said they're going to feature them in one match on Raw that had no fucking storyline to it whatsoever. So then you're going to go ahead and say, oh, now you guys have to go watch the Cruiserweight. No, there's still no reason to. They're still dudes. They can fly just like your heavyweights can. But now you're going to say, oh, you're really going to take the women and you're going to help develop their storylines, but now you're going to move them also. Not instead of, like, you get, like, because that's not what you guys are saying, obviously. You guys are saying have them included on the other brands, but take them. Yes. Have them on their own show as well, and have those stories bleed over with people that already have a built-in fan base. You have a built-in fan base, they're going to go to another place, you're going to go see them, as opposed to trying to make something that was for a niche market anyway, that was in the opposite.
Right, like a show like that is where you can get a match where you can get to see Ronda versus Asuka, right? The 2 shows champions. You could get a match like that on that women's show, and it may have some sort of tie-in to the story later on, you know. And yes, there may be gaps that get placed in if you don't follow the show and you don't watch it and you just stick to Raw and SmackDown. But I think with the amount of talent that they have right now, it makes it way too interesting to not bleed over into another show and you'd be like, I gotta watch this. I gotta see what's going on.
Can I interject something here real quick? So what if we took Monday Night Raw and kind of took Ref's idea a little bit and twisted it? What if instead of putting the women's show on the network, we took Raw, which is 3 hours, and gave one of those hours just to the women, just back to back? Like, let's say they did Monday Night Raw from, I don't know, 9 to 11, and they did the women, and you place it wherever the fuck you want. But what if you took that 3 hour show and just shaved an hour just for the women and had them on TV with their own storylines for an hour?
I think because at that point it segregates it too much, because then it's like, okay, now you have this like set blocked out time, whereas right now the way they do it is it's always kind of sprinkled throughout. So I think it's a combination of the two, of making sure that they have at least an hour's worth of time, let's call it 45 minutes of TV time with commercials included throughout the course of the entire show.
Sure.
I suggested that point because it blends in and it feels important. You split it out to the third hour, and all you're going to be doing is looking at, or the first hour, even whatever hour. It's a very obvious, they can pretty much tell ratings, live, but that would be a very obvious tell, as to who's tuning in and not. And
right, because it's like every week you're going to know, okay, this is their trend, and whoever's going to start tuning out is going to tune out at that time, because they know, all right, well, all the men's action is over. Sure. If they don't care about women's wrestling, they're not forced to watch it at this point.
Yeah,
not that we want people to be forced to watch, but it gives them that more of that exposure that maybe they wouldn't be as willing to accept.
Sure.
I think as big as the women's revolution is, and I think it's huge. I think it's massive. I love it. I have daughters. I've mentioned it a million times before. I like to play devil's advocate in this scenario because I want to keep the momentum hot behind the ladies and not force spotlight on them and measure them from the same stick, and because this is still relatively new. They should be measured by the same stick because they are as talented, if not more, than the men. I'm not talking talent-wise. I'm talking, star power-wise. Unfortunately, it doesn't dictate the same type of measurement right now. Not right now. That is not to say that it's not happening. That's not to say that Becky isn't worth more than 98.9% of the men's roster. I'm certainly not saying those aspects either. It's just an interesting time because they're still developing that strong super following.
But why not have a and
I respect you playing devil. Have all that time.
I know you do, but why not? And so I don't want this big scale thing. I want it to be done at Full Sail. I want hardcore fans in that arena. The WWE Network, from the last reporting, has over 2 million subscribers. That's 2 million hardcore fans that, let's even cut it in half. Let's say half tune in every week. That's 1 million eyes on the women. Mm-hmm. That's a million eyes telling that story. That's 1 million potential social media accounts going, wow, Bianca Belair had a really great match against Asuka tonight. I'm really glad I watched that show on the network. Like, there is just so much potential to create so much more organic grassroots stars by giving them more time. I don't give a shit if you cancel 205 Live because they're not doing anything with them. Because let's face it, it's not a hot product. You got some stars that are going to get moved up anyway. Look, they moved up Mustafa Ali. Like, they know 205 Live is a wasteland. Come on, let's be realistic. Cancel that, use that budget, and first of all, give all those guys jobs. You move them up to the main roster. I don't want to see nobody losing their jobs because they're putting in their work.
Hell yeah.
Move them up to the main roster, and then you shift that budget over, give the women some shine that they deserve, and let's create more stars.
I want that more than anything. It worries me, is all.
And I agree with all that. And I also want to bring up a stat that I heard on Solomonster's website, or Solomonster podcast, sorry. He said that Impact, after they moved to Pursuit on that channel, which I have no idea what fucking channel that is, a company that was pulling in 2-3 million views 10, 15 years ago, pulled 12,000 views on the first episode of Impact that they moved to Pursuit. This is someone who's trying to bring eyes to a fucking like nobody channel. This isn't a subscription base like Fridge is talking about. You go ahead and you throw a women's show that's an hour or 2 hours, whatever the case may be, on the network with half those viewerships, even, God forbid, 500,000, 1 million, 1.5. You get so much that you can do with that, and you can also build a secondary championship. Right now, you can't build a second championship for the women. Sorry, you fucking can't. But if you make that show, absolutely.
Would you tune in every week to watch it?
I would I would give it the best shot possible. I would definitely watch the first, 2 months to see if it's up to snuff. But I will judge it harshly as I would SmackDown or Raw. Like I would use the same barometer, if you will. Like if they're putting off crap, I wouldn't watch it. But if you're telling me that we're getting quality storylines, and I want your best writers, I don't want your fly-by-night TV writers that are just trying to get you the best commercials. I want the guys that actually want to see this succeed, write this.
Right.
Because it's network, and it's going to be meant for a hardcore audience. So I want to see this happen. And now, I would watch it. I would honestly watch it. I would give it a shot because you know what? It'd be more interesting than what they're fucking doing now.
Yeah. And put it like
Let
this.
me ask you this real quick.
NXT, people fucking tune in for NXT.
Let me ask you this. If we were to give the women's a mid-card belt, do we make it exclusive to the show? Because you got to think about you got to think about this. We already have SmackDown and Raw Women's Champions, the Women's Tag Team Champions. Do we need a fourth women's title floating around on all 4 shows? Let's say that women's show exists.
So long as it's not a butterfly, I'm fucking fine with it.
Yeah, you trade like the Intercontinental in the U.S. You don't see the U.S. title show up the fuck up on Raw. No, I think the mid card has to be just on the show. I think it has to give you a reason to tune in. Yeah. Put it on the workhorse. Okay. Like I would put it on someone like Bianca Belair.
Yep,
who's
that's
just
exactly what I was thinking. Just
like some new blood. It's got to be new blood. Blood, and she's just like, come on. Like with that performance with Baszler at TakeOver Phoenix. Telling me you can't be a workhorse that has a good 6-month reign before some young upstart dethrones her and she's moving on to the women's title picture? Like that's some fucking storytelling right there.
Yep,
they can reset the storytelling and how to do it. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'd be afraid of it not reaching a level of needed success to sustain. Maybe
It's not going to be a SmackDown here. He's got a point, and it's not going to be a SmackDown or a Raw. I don't expect it to be that. Maybe somewhere down the line it will grow to that, but it's going to take a while for it to get to that point.
It's worth a shot.
It's going to be something that's worth putting in the work for, though.
Absolutely, absolutely, with 1,000%, I agree.
And look, we got NXT, which people tune in for weekly. We have NXT UK, which people are tuning in for weekly, and then we've got 205 Live, which has way less viewership weekly than any of the other stuff that's on the WWE network.
Which really is criminal. These guys
a fucking
are great,
shame.
Great wrestlers.
Hell yeah. But I think the women would be able to funnel over there. But what do you guys think? You guys chime in. You let us know. Are we blowing smoke out of our asses? Do you guys think this would be something cool? You guys and girls let us know.
This is a popular question.
Yeah, we're gonna be posting all over Instagram about this stuff. We want you guys to comment. Let us know what you think. Give us your feedback. Tell us what you think. Tell us story lines you want to see play out on this women's show. Give us ideas. Let's run with this.
That'd be a crazy thing for you to book. If we booked a women's TV show and then Fridge just booked out like weekly, like 6 months of television.
Oh God.
Dude, WWE can't do it with 55 writers or whatever they got.
But we got Fridge
to do it.
We got the Fridge.
We got the motherfucking Fridge, bro. We don't need 55 writers.
AEW doesn't need any writers. So, Fridge, what are you complaining about?
What do you mean? Isn't Billy Gunn their fucking head writer, bro?
No. He's one of their agents. He's like the head agent. No. Cody Rhodes came out and said there's not going to be any writers.
I'll write for him. Fuck it.
I just can't do like 6 months of storytelling for an entire women's roster, and I'm not getting paid for it. You fucking kidding me?
We gotta talk
just
shit.
so WWE can steal all of it? No way,
buddy. Yeah. Right now we're talking shit so we can get paid.
There you go.
Listen, but this is fun. Like 6 months of me going, well, this would work. Well, this wouldn't work. This doesn't make any sense. Where does it come up with this?
You sound like Hulk Hogan right now. Terrible.
Fuck you guys. We're getting paid. We are going to be at the show on the 7th of April across the street from Mania, where the party's going to be at.
Hell yeah. And the party's going to be
hosted the Mania by tailgate
Bullet
party
Club, baby.
If you guys can't tell, we're very excited. We're going to the Bullet Club party.
Well, let's not also beyond the excitement for that. This is the Armchair Booker Media Corporation's weekend. We're also going to be at Blackcraft with some huge names. I just saw the updated card: Matt Cross, Phoenix, Pentagon. I'm getting goosebumps mentioning their names alone. Johnny Blackcraft is going to be there. He's their champion. Soraya Knight, we mentioned her at the beginning.
I'm stoked.
dude, we're going to see some serious people, and not just be in the stands, folks. We have media passes. We're growing. Thank you for the support of that. Because of the support and because of the rapid growth, we're getting access to these shows so we can bring you more product. We can bring you more content. We can bring you more of our opinions. We can bring you more of Fridge shouting and Doc yelling at me.
Fucking interviews, y'all.
That's basically what we do. We just listen to Fridge yell, and it's
You
fucking
basically
great.
do.
And Doc agree with me while also yelling at me.
What a Blackcraft weekend, a Block Party weekend. We're gonna put links up on our Instagram, on our Facebooks. But we want to get you guys involved as well. We're not making money off this. We're going to it for the enjoyment and see you guys as well as meet people that we love to meet.
One question I'm going to put out to everybody before we hit our send off. What would you ask the members of the Bullet Club? Because I would love some out of the box questions.
Yes.
I think that
everybody
there is going to ask the same stuff. I want to ask, like, Tamatanga, besides me running my hands through your hair, what conditioner do you use? Like, that's the kind of stuff we're looking for.
That's not what I'm looking. No.
Yes, we are.
That's the stuff you're looking for.
Haku, what kind of beer you drink that makes you bite people?
That's a fair question. I will actually accept that question.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah,
so
we don't want
to let us know.
We don't want to be the guys going, hey, when is AJ Styles coming back to Bullet Club? Huh? We don't want to be that, and we're not going to do that.
Don't you dare ask that. Okay,
watch
thank God.
the Joey Ryan interview. We interviewed Joey Ryan. Watch that interview. That's what we want to know from our wrestlers. We want to sit. We want to talk. That's what you're going to get. Tune in for it. We're going to flood the market.
Hell yeah! Want to give
Lots
a quick
of content.
Want to give a quick thank you to Blackcraft. Give a quick thank you to the Bullet Club. I can't believe we're fucking saying that. Give a quick thank you for Tamatanga and all those guys. Hell yeah! You guys have been putting a lot of faith in us, our fans, our listeners. You all have been doing some great things for us. So thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Much love.
Where can they find us, boys? One of y'all's gonna answer, because otherwise I'm just gonna flip this shit around.
Y'all know we're everywhere at this point. We're on Instagram at Armchair Bookers Podcast. We're on Twitter at Armchair Bookers 5. We're on ProWrestlingTees.com/Armchair Bookers Podcast. We are everywhere. Just search for us. Google us. Go to Spotify. Go to your Apple Podcast app. Go anywhere you need to go to find us. But you will find us. You will hear all 5 of our beautiful voices. And let's wrap it, Fridge.
So actually, before I do my little calling card at the end of the episode.
Wow, you totally fucked the flow up, man.
Go to your mother's house. She'll be listening. Go to your father's house. He'll be listening. Go to your brother. Go to your mother. Everywhere. Go to your sister.
No, just really quick. I just want to give a quick shout out to Yachak Yerba Mate. I just got to shout those guys out. We reached out to them. I've been drinking their energy tea for a while, the Yerba Mate tea. It keeps me excited and angry and yelling. This is how Fridge gets motivated. We reached out to them, and they actually were kind enough to send out 2 cases. This is in no way sponsorship. This is in by no way me getting paid for this. Daddy is still very poor. But I just want to shout those guys out for showing us some love. It's quality stuff. It's tasty stuff. I buy too much of it. So thank them for taking a load off Daddy's wallet. And if you like tea, go check them out. And now we'll see you next week, boys and girls. Squaw!